So we've just seen another flash crash. Bitcoin now dropping slightly below $60,000. In today's show, we'll discuss, are the bulls going to be wrecked? Is the trend reversing towards the downside? Are we going to have continuation back down to these much lower levels that we previously saw, around $53,000 for Bitcoin? Where are we within the greater scheme of things? And we'll discuss some of the major high impact events that are coming up as soon as today, because we do have NVIDIA earnings as well, which are set to drive the markets. And if you look at the chart over here, you can see that yesterday we had massive liquidations with $286 million getting wrecked on the long side over there, 35 millions with the short. So we'll get into all of this and a whole lot more in today's show. Smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. And let's get straight into it. So, of course, long liquidations taking place over there, but we've seen this story before. We've seen it 3 times. If you look at 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗧 over here, when the open interest gets wiped, more specifically on Bybit, wiping out 10,000 Bitcoins worth of open interest. It usually marks a major bottom, right? A bottom in price shortly after. And this time, maybe we'll see something similar. So we'll have a look at that in a moment's time. Fear and greed did come down to 30. So back into that fearful zone. And remember what I've been saying all week, anytime that you're within that fearful zone in a bull market, if this is in fact still a bull market, which we'll also assess in today's show, that presents a wonderful buying opportunity. And yesterday we also spoke about this. We're having a look at exactly that, the open interest rising up over here while spot was coming down, leverage was coming down, and you have price coming down with it, with longs opening up directly into that type of environment, and the open interest gets flushed, and then you can see longs get liquidated over there. What is the current stance of what's taking place right now? Well, as it currently stands right now, you can see spot flat, leverage flat, open interest is flush, and you still have the presence of shorts. So shorts are looking to build up in this current position, and that's why if you look at this over here, any small little move towards the upside, small bounces are resulting in late shorts getting liquidated, with 35 million of those taken out of their positions. And yesterday we did cover something like this. We said that if you have a look at this pent up liquidity that's taking place over here, and we looked at the liquidation charts and the heat maps as well, and we saw that there is some liquidity populated just below price action over there, and it was just a question of monitoring it on a low time frame, zooming in as price comes into the fair value gap and the 50 and 200 EMA levels. And if you saw signs of support in the form of a 5-minute time frame forming high highs and high lows and breaking structure towards the upside, that's where you'd be looking for your next high low. But as you can see, that is the importance of zooming in and waiting for that confirmation, which of course didn't come. So had you been doing that, you would have been watching as price comes in, and there was no long signal that was given over here, right? What was the long signal that you'd be looking for? Well, ultimately, as price floated down over here, you'd want to see a big spike up, take out the high in the 5-minute time frame, form a high low, and then you can start to look for the reversal. But instead, price just bled all the way through and pretty much dropped straight down like an absolute knife through, or a hot knife through butter at least. But where are you currently within this broader picture on the 5-minute, or at least on the 4-hour time frame? If you look over here and you measure out from the mid-range, which is going to be the white line, down to the bottom of the range low, well, price has found support exactly on that 50% level, also known as your range quarterly. Remember, when the market is choppy like this, the best way to trade it is using ranges, right? So if this is going to be your range low all the way at the bottom over here, this is your 25% level, your range quarterly. This is your 50% level, or your mid-range, and somewhere around here would be your 75% level, or your other range quarterly. And then of course on the top side over there is where you're going to have your range high. So all in all, what are you looking at over here? Maybe a little bit of choppy price action while the market tries to redigest, leading into the NVIDIA earnings that's going to be coming out later on today. And then once we get some more information on how that goes, I think that Bitcoin will make its decision whether it's going to start to trend back towards the upside. But I think the lesson over here is that if you're a low time frame trader, the best thing to do is focus on range trading. It's the easiest thing. It's a question that I get time and time again within Wells School. And if you have a look over here, this was was actually posed by one of the other participants that we had just last week in our very first welcome event, and you can have a listen.
What is one way to just collect small wins so I start to get the feeling of coming into the game?
I would say focus on that, which is the same thing as focusing on levels of support and resistance. So mark out the levels, I would say, on a daily time frame. Then as price approaches that level, watch it on like an hourly time frame and look at the reactions into that level. If it's showing signs of strength, then start to look for a little entry over there. Take much smaller bite-sized trades as well. Don't trade as big. It will help to reduce your emotions and reduce the leverage as low as possible, maybe even 2x leverage on the trade, and then practice taking those trades at the extremities, immediately eliminating the risk. So that's pretty much my exact same sentiment and advice for anybody that's new coming into the market in this type of environment until such time as we leave the range, right? And we start to move into a breakout scenario. That's best bet when it comes to taking trades at the moment, to looking to gain very, very small wins, right? Small losses, small wins. You're just looking to make money as the market continues to chop, and so you don't get rinsed, right? As you can see over here, Glenn says it's rinsing time, right? That's what's happening to a lot of market participants who are or not waiting for confirmation. Now, again, if you do want to learn more about this, you have exactly 9 hours left. We'll be starting later on this afternoon. Then it's going to be completely closed off. So please understand, if you don't sign up today, if you haven't already, this is your last opportunity to get in. So where are we within the greater scheme of things? Well, on the weekly time frame, some of the strong coins are still holding up. And anytime that you get a market dump like this and you see how coins react quickest out of the blocks in terms of the fastest to bounce and which things are bouncing the hardest, it provides some very valuable information. And some of the top picks over here continue to remain those memes, right? So you got Popcat, Floki, and then you have the AI sector, Render and Fetch AI. Also, some of the other coins that we need to be looking at for the next leg up. So this is giving at least a little bit of a clue or hint as to what may come next when the market does actually break out of the top side of its range. And we'll discuss again when that could particularly happen. But once you do see that, look out for some of these coins. Something like Popcat being up 60% on the week despite the market flushing to the downside is a very, very telling sign. Up even more than what I was yesterday, which is absolutely unbelievable. So NVIDIA earnings, big day coming out. Of course, if they do beat or hit on target for what the expectation is, you can expect that this will probably continue onwards and upwards. I pretty much marked the levels out. It's just been floating up, and it did get the crash coming down into this 90 level. We outlined that as an important area of support. You got the immediate bounce off of that. And as long as you don't take out last week's low, I would say chances are that you're probably going to expand on this candle and break out of the top side over here into the 140 region for NVIDIA. And then the market will obviously digest that as a healthy sign and probably be less scared going into the next phase of the market cycle. We also have constantly new global liquidity hitting an all-time high now of 95 trillion, right? Bitcoin price typically tends to follow M2 money supply also increasing. We know that there's massive quantitative easing that's going to be coming up very soon, and that always lines up with those election phases, right? We spoke about it yesterday. 69 days left before the US elections take place, and this is overlaid onto a Bitcoin chart showcasing what that election phase actually looks like. So this was the Obama era over here, straight up for Bitcoin. This was Trump, at least his first win, massive move towards the upside. Then you even have the Biden administration, and even they had some fundamentals in the chart over there. So that with rising liquidity and M2 money supply moving towards the upside still shows you that overall the trend and trajectory on a very macro basis still remains towards the upside. So we overlaid that on Bitcoin's chart as well over here yesterday. That's what we were focusing on, and we looked at the key levels, right? Most notably the 6-month, 3-month, and monthly time frame. We have, of course, lost the monthly time frame, but the month is not yet over. We're still 4 days, 18 hours left to go. So the weekly and monthly time frame confirmation closes are going to be very telling as to what will come next within the market cycle. Please understand as well, from a cyclical point of view and a seasonality perspective, it's very typical for Bitcoin to form major bottoms over the months of July, August, or September. Somewhere within that vicinity, July, August, or September, that is the time period. So we are looking for a major low in the making. We do have a hammer reversal candle right over here on the monthly time frame, which therefore still shows that that is most likely going to be the major low. Where does this picture really start to fall out of bed? Well, I would say if you do start to take out the monthly low, which we did wick all the way down, and it got pretty scary, but again, the month is not yet over. We've seen crazier things happen in 4 days before, right, where price could easily start to push all the way to the top side. We have, of course, the Fed interest rate decision coming up very soon, 18th of September, currently pricing in one rate cut at 25 basis points. They might do a double. Only time will tell, right? This is going to be one of the most important rate cut decisions or FOMC meetings that we have. And the reason why is because usually they don't taper too much with things leading into an election phase, which means that it's really down to this September read to determine what they're going to actually do. Now, a lot of people have been relatively fearful with what happens to the markets once there's a rate cut, because there was one period in time where there was a rate cut and the market 1 month later, exactly a month later, dropped very drastically. But what we can do is we can have a look at all this data over time from, I think, as early as the 1960s on the S&P 500. I'm currently on the 3-month time frame. So this is the US stock market, which you can see is a very powerful chart moving towards the upside. And then we can start to mark off some levels, and we can have a look at what has happened in the prior times when there were rate cuts. So keep in mind, we are of course leading into the election environment, which is typically where also the market goes up. But nevertheless, if we have a look pretty much from much earlier on, as early as we have it over here in 91, so January 1991, that is to be precise over there. What has happened when we've had these rate cuts? So the purple obviously marks the time periods where the Fed were cutting interest rates, and what happened to the market? The market goes up, right? Over here, yes, you had one candle where it came down, 3-month candle. The next candle, immediately what happens? The market goes up. Now, this was one environment where you saw the market coming down. That was into the 2000s. So rate cut, and the market continues to crash, right? You had another time period over here in 2008, but they were cutting interest rates as well because the markets were crashing, right? So they needed to change the interest rates over there, and that led to the end of that environment, and prices go up. Here you have another data sample from 2019 leading into 2020. This dump was not because of the interest rate cuts, but more because of shutting down the entire world for COVID, right? And what happens next to the market? Straight on towards the upside. What can you tell from this data? Well, if I compress it in over here and you look at these various different time periods, so let's consider that 1, 2, 3 over here, 4, 5, 6. Out of the 6 time periods, there were 2 time periods where the market came down. What does this mean? It simply means that it becomes a bit of a coin toss, right? It becomes a 50-50 scenario. So point being, I don't think that worrying about the market crashing because of a rate cut is something that you should be too concerned about. I think rather trade the chart that's in front of you, right? Monitor the various different levels, mark out your areas of support and resistance, and as long as price is above support and trending onwards and upwards, it's going to be an environment where you don't want to counter that trend. And what is this trend right now? Well, the trend is very powerfully towards the upside. The other thing that people are very concerned about is recessions. Well, we can also mark that off. And now this one's a lot more data, so I don't want to go too in detail with this, but what you'll find is when you have a look at this data from literally as early as time, you have constant periods throughout the market cycles where you do get these recessionary environments, and more often than not, those recessionary environments mark the exact bottoms, right? There you have it, recession marked in the green bars, marks the bottom over here. Here's one environment where by the time the recession was announced, pretty much the market came down one more time, big bounce, right? By the time there was a recession, exact bottom. If you look at the next one over here, one of the shortest recessions ever seen happening in 2020, recession, exact bottom, price rips towards the upside. So point is, trade the chart that's in front of you, focus on the various different levels, mark out your areas of support, and as long as price is above that and trending onwards and upwards, it's a-okay to continue to be long, which is what we are, right? We long over here on the S&P 500. This is on Prime XBT. Again, if you do start to take out last week's low, maybe there's a little bit of trouble. Raise your stop losses just slightly below that. If you get wicked out, so be it. Otherwise, I'm expecting that even through this week, leading into the massive NVIDIA earnings today, the S&P 500 more than likely pushes up, creating new all-time highs. Here you have NASDAQ as well. I know a lot of people are super fearful that ultimately, you're putting in a complacency bounce and we're going to lead into a bear market environment. But remember, I want to remind you, if you're objective about it and you zoom out, what exactly do you see? We mark out the areas of horizontal support and resistance, right? So horizontal support, here it is, right? Price came down, held that level, pushed towards the upside. Now you can mark off the next most important level, and I'd probably say it's this zone over here. So as long as price remains above that, even if it were to come down on the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ and it comes back down to these low levels, you have your 200-week moving average, you have a strong horizontal over there, probably leads into just yet another high low, just like we've seen every other time. And then slowly but surely, you should see it trending back towards all-time highs. And crypto typically follows this, right? It might lag it slightly, it might diverge from time to time, but most of the time it trades with high correlation to what you're seeing in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, which means if those go up, Bitcoin and crypto will also go up. But it takes time, right? It takes time for the market to pivot into a full risk on environment, and we are getting close. So Bitcoin, if you're looking at the weekly time frame over here, we are back below the 21 exponential moving average. We had the question mark over here with the SR flip, right? Big question mark, because why? We don't have confirmation. We don't have a weekly close. Can we give confirmation that we've once again lost the 21 EMA and it's back to bear town? Not yet. Again, wait for the weekly close over here. 4 days, 18 hours left. It's a long week ahead. I believe that should actually line up. This weekly close lines up with a monthly close as well, which is going to be very, very important. But if you do start to take out this 2-week low from the 12th of August, that candle bottom, which is coming in at about $56,000, below $56,000 is where the risk of a deeper downside move starts to increase drastically. So let's observe as price forms over here. Remember also what we looked at over here. We spoke about the green box previous times that we lost that 21 exponential moving average, which occurred in August, ironically as well, August leading into September of 2023. And we measured out this time period and we said that if give or take the pattern repeats in a similar fashion, you're looking at about 9 weeks of chopping around below that 21 EMA, and then you should get expansion. Now, if we go fast forward to this zone over here and we have a look at that, we are currently on the 9th week. So the week is not yet over. Let's give it a little bit of time, wait for the weekly close. Maybe it goes a little bit longer. Maybe it's next week. So it's the 10th week that we start to properly reclaim that 21 EMA and move towards the upside. So that's what we're looking at. As Glenn says, like, subscribe, bell notification on. Guys, put the bell notification on so you'll know anytime that we do go live over here and you won't miss the alpha. Sometimes I do stream at arbitrary times, right? Now, is the cycle top in? Very easy question to answer, simply just utilizing the pi cycle top indicator, which, to make it simple, utilizes two moving averages, the 350-day simple moving average and the 111-day simple moving average. Now, what happens when you look at this over here is the prior cycle tops that we've seen occur when the short-term moving average crosses above the long-term, so the red above the green, and price is typically extended far, far, far beyond those moving averages, and that marks a cycle top within 3 days, which is pretty substantial, right? If you look at the next one, 2013 presented a double top scenario, or not double, but two tops within 2013 because the younger asset class, again, big move up, pushes towards the upside and comes down. If we look at the next one over here, this was 2017 cycle top, crosses over there, pretty much marks the exact cycle top, and price comes down and converges back towards those moving averages. And then, of course, we have the 2021 cycle over here, which was absolutely no different. Now, where's price currently in relation to these moving averages? Well, price is currently below the 111-day moving average or simple moving average over there. And the moving averages are nowhere near converging into one another. Now, it's not to say that history will always repeat in exactly the same way, but it can rhyme. So if it doesn't repeat in exactly the same way, maybe this time we don't actually see the 111 simple moving average cross above that 350, but what you may likely see is at least price rallying up above the 350, which we've already seen once this year, right? When price now recently pushed up to $72,000, we did get, of course, above that moving average. Now, where's that moving average currently situated? Right now, it's situated at about $104,000. So maybe, just maybe, price pushes, gravitates above that and starts to pull the red moving average in towards the green, but they don't cross. They at least converge, get very, very close. That's where we can start to warrant major caution. Right now, is the cycle top in? Very unlikely, in my personal opinion. I think this is just a prolonged consolidation. And when you zoom out, it will look completely ordinary based on what we've previously seen, with the usual pullback scenario of between 30 and 40%, even within a bull market. This is our fifth correction, 33% down. We are almost at the 6-month mark. We're 167 days into the correction, and our 6-month mark is so close. We're only 15 days away before hitting that yellow line over there. And typically, from the yellow to the white is where we've seen the prior cycles, which puts you out at about 26 days. That's where the prior cycles following the halving cycle theory start to mark up, right? They slowly start to grind and lead into just that pre-parabolic phase. All in all, I know it feels very different because of how long it's felt like, but in relation to what we've previously seen, it's honestly no different, right? It's absolutely no different at all. So here's our levels, right? We are below the pivot level, which is the yellow line over here, meaning your RSI is trending down. We did, of course, lose these key moving averages. And again, just to remind you, we spoke about the possibility of the longs raising their stop losses throughout here. And therefore, you might get a flush capturing some of that liquidity. And currently, I would say that's exactly what's taking place. Now, there is a possibility that price could even come all the way down as low as $53,000 over here and still form a high low. But your job is to be on high low watch and just make sure that price does not take out this level. If you take out this level, that changes the entire picture for Bitcoin, right? So that's what we're looking at. Major support below coming in at $52,000. And we'll just give a little bit of time waiting for the weekly close to see what happens next. But you do have liquidity in the form of $12 million worth of stop losses sitting slightly below. So you could come down one more time into that 58.5. We'll keep an eye out on that. Let's quickly have a look at the monthly liquidity and see how this one's looking. Okay, market really undecided on which way to go. That's why you don't have that much in terms of bright colors with the liquidation levels on the monthly time frame. What about the weekly? We'll quickly refresh that. Okay, weekly starting to build some above at 366 million worth of liquidation levels at $65,000. Okay, now you're getting a lot of different people starting to talk again about Solana, ETH, and Bitcoin dominance, right? If you look at Benjamin Cowan, he says if Solana BTC continues to follow the ETH BTC ratio, then it will get a correction before the end of the year and then bounce into 2025 before dropping again in 2026. Well, this is what happened in prior times in, you can see 2019, you had the big drop where essentially ETH BTC came down 90%, then it pumped 500%. That's again, Ethereum pumping against Bitcoin on the upside move. And then that got faded, but that led into the bull market top, right? That was the 2021 cycle top. And then pretty much it just bled out and faded all the way to the current level that we're in. Now, he's mentioning over here the possibility of, Solana went down 90%. So far, it's pumped about 500%. And could it be that you have a sudden drop, a big bounce, and then bleed out for the rest of 2026? Well, likely if there's something that's considered a Solana killer, which from a fundamental perspective doesn't look to be the case, at least yet. But if something like that comes up as a narrative, possibly the chart will still give us the signs and the symptoms, which should be distribution and a downtrend. Right now, it doesn't look to be the case. Right now, if you look at the charts of Solana against ETH, it's expanding right towards the upside. Looks like higher highs and high lows breaking out of the top side of a range. And theoretically, this will continue to outperform ETH, right? So we'll monitor this chart very, very carefully because it's going to be an important decision to make. Many people have been asking me the question, though, of whether, because if this chart's going up, should they just sell all of their Ethereum for Solana? Well, there's no such things as guarantees in life, right? The only thing that's guaranteed is taxes and death, as they say. So we'll monitor this chart, and we have to reserve the possibility that Benjamin Cowan is right on something like this. Although what I will mention over here is that there's one major underlying difference or factor, which I think he's not speaking about, which is the environment that ETH outperformed BTC from 2020 into 2021 to get that 500% move was in the raging bull market, on quantitative easing on steroids, leading into the election phase. All these things that we're looking at right now is pretty much what occurred to lead into that 500% move. Whereas all that we have now is a similar Sol BTC pattern to what we saw in Sol ETH. But what type of environment are we leading into? We're not coming off of, we're not at the end of the bull market. This was the end of the bull market. So it makes sense that ETH BTC would bleed against Bitcoin into the bear market. That was the bear market phase over here. This is not the bear market phase, right? We're not leading into the bear market phase. We're leading into the final blow off top phase. Point being, you don't want to necessarily sell all of your Ethereum into Solana, because there is always a chance that something like this does take place, and that is why you diversify, right? Very, very important. That's the reason for diversification. Now, if you look at ETH BTC, it is, of course, squeezing into the bottom of this wedge over here. If I really draw it conservatively and you go from wick to wick to wick, then therefore you could view that there is still a chance that maybe, just maybe, we'll put in a price label over here. Maybe, just maybe, if you hit that trend line, then ETH BTC goes down as low as 0.037. Okay, that's possible. And then maybe ETH USD comes down one more time. I don't know if it's going to come all the way down to 21.32. We just need to keep an eye on it. This is your USD pair on the right hand side. You broke towards the upside, rejected off the mid range, came all the way back down to the range low, and that's currently the phase that we're in. What I can say though is, if Bitcoin dominance tops, these are inverse patterns. You have the falling wedge on ETH BTC, you have the rising wedge on Bitcoin dominance, and we know that Bitcoin dominance rise to glory is nearing its end, right? The king must fall soon, but then he'll rise again. And when the king falls, when Bitcoin dominance breaks down, that is typically what leads to those major altcoin environments. So I just want to be clear with that. Remember, the top that occurred over here, you can overlay it, and I'll make this a little bit bigger. If you look at this dotted line over here, that was the exact USD pair top for ETH USD. If you look at this one over here, and again, we can make that nice and big, this was the BTC top. Now, if you go and correlate that to Bitcoin, this was also a Bitcoin top in, let's call it, it was, I think, towards the end of November. So this is the 6th of December, 2021. Where are we now? We've spoken a lot about the various different timing cycles. I can go back to this. Where are we now? We are in this type of environment, right? We are not coming off the top of a bear market or the start of a bear market and the top of the bull market. Instead, we are looking for the post-halving parabola, and therefore I'm not as concerned as Benjamin Cowan is around Solana nuking, right? But with that said, I will adjust my bias should it start to show signs of distribution. Right now, it's holding the range lows. We've had just a choppy environment following a big move up over here on Solana, and therefore I'm looking for Solana to reclaim above 163, right? $163 over there. That should start to look really good. If you do want to trade any of these assets, crypto assets, and you don't have a crypto exchange, guys, remember there is links in the description below. And if you do use Bybit specifically, you'll have the chance to win a Cybertruck. I think it's valued over $100,000 US. If you don't want the Cybertruck, maybe your country doesn't take it. Maybe you already have a Cybertruck. Maybe you like Hardest and you think it's the ugliest thing ever. It looks like a loaf of bread that's shiny. Then just take the cash, right? We'll give you the cash and you can buy yourself a Porsche or something. All right, the link is in the description below for that. We can go into some altcoin requests. Bear in mind, we also do this thing called the Banter Bags giveaway, where we give away IDO seed round investments worth sometimes up to, millions of dollars when you get into the peak of the bull run. And if you use the links that are in the description below, each of those is considered an entry into the Banter Bags giveaway. And then remember, tons of value as well with Whale School. A reminder, we start in 8 hours. All right, let's go into some of the altcoin requests. Let's quickly have a look at SUI to see, is it holding up? The fact that it's taken out this big expansive candles, not really a good sign, but let's see if this yellow box area holds in terms of range levels. You can pretty much mark out that is sitting exactly at the mid-range, coming in at 81 cents, right? 0.8199. That is for SUI. So holding on to that zone over there. All right, what else? Let's go to Phantom. I see there is a question, or at least a request for Phantom. So we'll go to that. All right, Phantom. Okay, rejected from the top side of the range. This is still lower lows and lower highs. That's your next lower high. This is why you want to be patient. Now, I know that Run is pretty bullish on Phantom. So if he is to be correct, well, you expect that there should be a high low that forms somewhere around here, right? So as it comes down, you're looking for it to hold this mid-range. Maybe that's its first sign of strength, right? Then I can already see the possibility for inverse head and shoulders over there. Maybe something like that plays out. I'm just thinking ahead over here, but at the end of the day, you're looking for a higher low or a right shoulder to form anywhere around here in this 40 cents region. All right, let's go to Render. How's Render doing? Let's see, Render. Okay, I got two Renders because they changed the ticker. So one has more price history and one has less. I'm going to use the one with more price history. Same thing for Render. It's still downtrending, straight downtrend, lower lows and lower highs. You did hit a very key level over here. So similar to Phantom, a lot of these coins, your hope is that it's going to start to form a high low and continue. So remain patient, remain patient. Look at these dips as opportunities to see, are the coins that you're in strong or not, right? Let's actually go to, for example, some of the coins that I've been speaking a lot about and that I've been buying, right? Giga's up 11%. So all in all, still looking good over there. Holding the key level, which we have at the pink zone over here, that is 0.019. That's holding up. That's looking good. Popcat is the other one, right? Popcat looking good. Prepping for expansion over here. These things go full vertical, right? We're buying all the way down here in Whale All of that was dropped ahead of time in Whale All the buy orders were placed over there at the 40 cents region. We were first previously long from down here on this wick. I sized up over here a lot on this dip over here. So all in all, I think from average price, I'm up 76%. And I think that this could be the next high low and looking for expansion from that level. So looking good over there. I see a question around NEAR. Let's have a look at NEAR. So similar to Phantom, right? Look, you had, of course, an opportunity over here with a high breaking structure, came down. You would have looked for the high low over there, bled straight through, came to the bottom of the range at 350, pushed to the top of the range at $5. Now I'd be looking for somewhere around that mid-range level. So look for, let's move it across. Look for some support over here around $4.17. Maybe it forms a high low at about $4.17. All right, Casper. Let's have a look at Casper because I personally want to pick up some more Casper if I get my price. Now, still chopping around here. Where's my price? Well, I would like to see if I can get an entry around 14.7. Maybe, just maybe if I'm lucky, as low as 14 cents. That's Casper consolidating near the highs. I still think it's one of the most bullish charts and projects out there. Okay, we can look at Ton. Ton went down yesterday. Their blockchain went down. They weren't completing the blocks for like 3 hours or something. They are back online now. But obviously getting a little bit of bad press at the moment with everything that's gone on with the founder, as well as the blockchain going down. Now, this is going to be your range low. If it does lose that, next levels of interest, and this is where I genuinely would be a buyer at about $3. I don't own any ton yet. I'm just waiting. It's not in the perfect zones for me. The chart does look quite sloppy. So just waiting, patiently waiting over there. All right, let's see. What else have we got? Let me quickly scroll through the list over here. I'm laughing at the comments. Guys, we did render already. That one's done. Let me zoom through. Is there anything else? Let's see. All right. How's Tron doing? Is Tron still floating up? Not too bad. Tron's still moving up. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. Let's see. Mantra. Okay, needs to bounce. Again, we got the bounce the first time off of this line. Needs to bounce the second time. If it does start to break this upsloping trend line, it would start to look similar to Bitcoin, right? Which is a massive buildup of liquidity. When you build up liquidity like that, you usually get sharp dumps. So be careful of something like that on Mantra. Okay, Tau. Yeah, we can go to Tau. How's Tau doing? All right, let's bring that up. Okay, Tau also rejecting from the top of the range high. Look for high lows. Wait for the breakout if you're really patient. Breaking above 355 will confirm the breakout of this range level, and then you can start to look for a markup. Remember, guys, a lot of these coins, realistically, a lot of the altcoins are probably only going to do what you want them to do sometime towards the end of the year, maybe December. That's the realistic scenario. The strongest coins will start running way before that, and when the rest of the market runs, they'll run even more. And that's why it's important to position into strength, right? Okay, position into strength. Let's look at Injective. Okay, Injective failed breakout from the falling wedge formation over here, big push up. Now you're getting a throw back into this level. If you did want a long on Injective, this is probably your next best opportunity. But similar to everything else I've mentioned, you do want to see those high lows forming over here like this, right? You want to see your next high low form over here on Injective, and then you can start to look for continuation. And if you're confused about all of this, I cover everything, right? Remember, guys, everything is covered in Whale School, and then Whale Room is going to be the private Discord. If you want to take your education to the next level, you can see a lot of our members putting in major profits constantly, doing very, very, very well out there. Super proud of everybody and how far you've all come in Whale Room. So congratulations to all. All right, smash the like button, guys. That's it from me. I will see all of you on the next show. I hope you all have a lovely day, and the rest of you I'll see you on Whale School actually later today. Cheers for now.